Atossa Soltani is the founder and board president of Amazon Watch, an activist organization created to support Indigenous people in protecting their human rights, their territories, and their cultures against the overwhelming power of international extractive corporations. She's a photographer, a filmmaker, and a media strategist who documents, publicizes, and resists the corporate assault against the Indigenous people and their habitat. She's led several successful campaigns to convince oil companies and other corporations to adopt more responsible environmental and social policies.
Amazon Watch is a nonprofit organization that works with Indigenous peoples of the Amazon basin to protect their territories and advance Indigenous peoples' rights. Founded in 1996, and it's been going on about 17 years. And we work pretty closely with Indigenous movement across the basin and the Amazon.
One of the things that's often occurred to me, I'm just curious if this seems to be so to you, is that Amazonia suffers from the fact that it's in several different jurisdictions, that if it were seen as a whole, instead of fragmented into a little piece that's Ecuador and a little piece that's Peru and so on, it might draw more of the attention that it deserves.
Absolutely. If you look at the Amazon basin, it's the size of the continental United States, so it's massive. And then you have 9 countries, 9 political jurisdictions that the Amazon reaches, expands across 9 countries. So you have all of these different policies and politics and, different geopolitical, priorities. And so, it is seen as a fragmented place. In fact, a lot of the tracking that happens on deforestation in the Amazon primarily focuses on deforestation in the Brazilian Amazon and fails to report deforestation across the basin. It is one huge watershed.
Is it fair to say that throughout the region, the major problems come from extractive industries? Is that a fair generalization?
That is a great way to frame it. I mean, if you more broadly speaking, it comes from this mindset that development, what is called development, the development paradigm that's imposed by governments and regional authorities. I mean, often the Amazon is seen as an empty space full of natural resources to be exploited. And basically that's been the predominant framework around which policy and governance has happened in this area. So yes, it's seen as empty space where, which is not the case. Indigenous peoples have occupied these spaces for thousands of years. It is seen as a place where development, a country can exploit these resources to basically fuel its national development. And of course that's been tragic for the region, for the people. So you have industries like oil and gas and mining. You have large-scale infrastructure projects that aim to integrate and dominate and connect these, interiors, these wild interiors. And so these are, for example, roads, waterways, rivers being dredged to create waterways. You have large-scale energy projects like dams, large dams that block rivers and flood huge areas of the forest. And you have massive agricultural projects or agribusiness projects like plantations of palm oil and soybeans. And of course cattle ranching has been in the lowland rainforest a huge driver of deforestation, especially in Brazil. You're talking about shifting societal perspective and creating a popular understanding of rights of nature. And I think the tribunal helps crystallize what are the rights of nature, why the rights of nature, and helps you put yourself out of your anthropocentric framework of me, human communities as dominating, to a perspective where you think about a species that's going to go extinct. You think about the turtles. You think about the sharks that were harmed in the BP oil spill. You think about even isolated, uncontacted tribes who are basically being displaced and, facing ethnocide in the case of the Yasuni National Park, where there are isolated tribes who are being driven away by oil companies. So it's a powerful tool to help shift consciousness and get us to think outside of our anthropocentric worldview. And it's an empowerment tool, allowing communities to become to basically have popular trials that help expose. Whether it'll have any power to actually force a judgment against the company is not the point. We're talking about laying the groundwork for new legal frameworks and for new understanding around, again, the primacy of the web of life.
Amazon Watch strongly supports the indigenous plaintiffs in the famous Chevron Toxico case against Texaco and its successor Chevron. For a closer look at that story, please watch our Green interview with Pablo Fajardo and Steve Donziger, the lawyers who've been leading that case. You may also want to view our interviews with Peruvian indigenous leader Santiago Manuel Valera and with Ecuador's remarkable former energy minister Alberto Acosta. For the Green interview, I'm Silver Donald Cameron. Thanks for joining us.